Hi there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Regina and this video is about onions. We are going to do an update on the onions we've been growing this season. Before we get into it, go ahead and hit that like and hit that subscribe button so you don't forget later, and that way you'll get all the great videos that come out after this one, and of course help this video to reach more gardeners, which I would greatly appreciate. Sorry if you're hearing my neighbor's weed eater, but you know, it's springtime, everybody's working on their yard. So I'm growing onions in North Texas, outside of Dallas, zone 8A. Now, onions are something that you plant in the fall for harvest in early summer, late spring. The onions that I'm growing this year, I actually did a video on seed starting the onions and also planting them out into the garden, so I will link those in the description, and I'll also have them somewhere around here, the top of the video. So I planted the onions on November 18th. I started the seeds indoors and I let them grow and grow and grow for a few months. And then on February the 7th is when I planted them outside into the raised bed. Now definitely you want to plant your onions around that time frame. January is even better. Next year I believe I'm going to start my onions about a month earlier, mid-October. And then I'm going to plant them out mid-January to give them even more time to grow and to develop. So that's just something I've learned by doing this. So now that my onions have been in the ground, today is May 2nd. So now that my onions have been in the ground almost, let's see, all of February, all of March, all of April, so about 3 months, we've actually gotten to the time where they start bulbing. Now actually them starting to bulb has nothing to do with how long they've been in the ground and has everything to do with the variety of onion and where you live. Where I live in Texas, we use short day variety onions, and that means that the onions will start to bulb when day length reaches 10 to 12 hours. That's when the leaf growing process, as far as the leaves growing new layers, that ends and the onions actually start to bulb. So the reason why you plant them so early is you want to give them as much time as possible to grow a whole bunch of leaves and a whole bunch of layers, because that'll lead to bigger onions when the bulbing process begins. So right now my onions have started the bulbing process, and I'm so excited to show it to you guys, because you have seen these onions from the time they were a tiny black seed and now you see them actually growing into actual onions. So now that my onions have stopped bulbing, started bulbing, I'm not going to fertilize them anymore. I have been giving these guys plenty of nitrogen. I used a granular slow release fertilizer at planting, and then I did that again about a month and a half after, and I also about every 2 to 3 weeks also hit them with a water soluble high nitrogen fertilizer. And that's because onions need a lot of nitrogen to grow a lot of leaves. So they have that nice green growth to produce more bulbs. To produce larger bulbs. But now that the bulbing process has begun, then I am not going to fertilize them anymore. I will still water, but probably a little less frequently, maybe about once a week when they really need it, but not as heavily as I did before, and I will just let that bulbing process happen. Last year, I harvested my onions in early June, so I'm estimating this year it'll be about the same. But the way that you know when onions are ready is that the tops of them will topple over at the neck. So once most of your onions have done that, then that's when you want to remove them. That's when you're going to harvest them. Now, of course, we haven't gotten there yet, but they have started that bulbing process. So now I'm kind of in, phase 2 of caring for these onions, or I guess phase 3. Phase 1 is the indoor seed starting phase. Phase 2 is planting them out and them growing that leafy green growth. So now we're in phase 3, the third and final phase of growing the onions, and that is the bulbing process. So here you can see a red onion starting to bulb, and several others. I may have to dig around them a little bit to see, but you can see one of the white onions starting that bulbing process as well. And so I'm really excited as more of them start that, because yay, that's the point of growing all these onions. I've enjoyed the greens this whole season because we have been using them, but more importantly, I'm really looking forward to those onion bulbs and growing, my year's worth of onions. So now it is 1 week later from the previous recording, and the bulbs are even bigger now. They're already starting to fill out. What a difference 7 days makes, right? So you'll see even more bulbs here. You'll see that they have gotten larger. Definitely have some grass growing in this bed too, but I don't want to pull it up and mess with my onions. But if they continue to grow this way and they grow large, like I'm hoping and expecting them to, then I'll definitely have a year's worth of onions here, because I do have some onion plants growing in my strawberry bed as well. So I have these plus those. So that should be plenty for my family. We do eat a lot of onions. I use them in pretty much everything I cook. But very excited about that and watching this process. The bulbing process is just the most fun. Another really great thing this season, I have not had any of these onions bolt on me yet. None of them have gone to seed. Whereas last year, about this time, I had had several that had gone to seed. And from what I understand, when that happens, the bulb does stop growing. And that also makes it to where that onion will not store well. So you have to eat those onions first. It probably had something to do with our freak weather last year. We had those really, really, really cold temperatures and then shot back up. And we have not had that in the same way this year. So that probably had something to do with it. But also last year's onions were grown from dormant plants rather than from seed at home. So these have never left that growing phase. But either way, they are looking great. And yeah. Thank you for watching this video. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Help this video get out to even more gardeners, which I would appreciate. And also make sure that you never miss out on another gardening video. Now, like I mentioned before, if you want to see the process of starting the onion seeds and also planting out the onions so that you can be ready for next onion season, definitely check those out. The links are in the description. And of course, if you have any questions or any comments you want to share, anything, any tips that you know about growing onions, please go ahead and do that in the comments. I would love to learn more, and I'm sure other gardeners would benefit from that as well. Thanks again, and until we meet again, thank you. Bye.